manipulate governments, economies, and if there is a label of great Satan on a country, I think unfortunately our country deserves it. And you know what? There was a time when the people of the world used to say, "Oh, it's not the American people are good people; it's their government that we hate." But now it's getting to the point where they're starting to really hate Americans because, for the most part, not you folks here, obviously you're here for a reason, but the overwhelming majority of American sheeple are sitting on their big, sweaty, pimple-covered butts with a remote control watching American Idol while the entire world is falling down around our shoulders. And as a result, the rest of the world is starting to hate Americans. Well, it's up to us. It's up to you to get busy and spread this word. And folks like our next speaker has been screaming for a long time. He's no newcomer to this movement. And his book, I was telling you when I saw him at the airport, has become somewhat of a Bible in our house. Joyce has been referring to the unauthorized biography of George Bush, of course, George Herbert Walker Bush. Refers to that thing as a Bible. We quote from it all the time. And ladies and gentlemen, this man has been researching the global political shenanigans of our government, not just Republicans but Democrats as well, for quite some time. Ladies and gentlemen, a veteran to the movement. It brings me great pleasure to announce for you Mr. Webster TARPLEY.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, I have to warn you in advance, my presentation relies rather heavily on these slides, so the best seats are decidedly up front. I try to make them as big and as legible as I can, but if you have empty seats up here, you may want to come forward. And you'll also have to bear with me. I have a lot to cover. I have about 50 minutes. Now, I am, to some degree, a purveyor of political concepts, that's for sure. But today, I bring you an appeal to do something. This is a call to action. This is things that I recommend that you do in the coming period. Now, this is my most recent book, 9/11 Synthetic Terror. We're mercilessly flogging it here in the back. I'll sign it for you. It was 20, it's now down to 15. Please come to the back. And we've got George Bush, the unauthorized biography that was mentioned. You can also hear me on Genesis Broadcasting, Genesis World Report, Washington Wrap-Up, every Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. local time here. You can also frequently hear me on KPFK Midday News. Thanks to my friend Fernando Velázquez, I'm often a commentator from Washington on intelligence-oriented events, and I think that's at 12:30 in Los Angeles. I'm often reminded that Los Angeles is the biggest radio market in the world because of all those poor people trapped in their automobiles. It actually eclipses any other radio market on this planet, so I'm always delighted to be on the radio in Los Angeles. Now, this is the concept I want you to grasp. The massive, aggressive, polemical intervention of the 9/11 Truth movement into the presidential primary campaign to take all the elaboration that we have put together over a period of 5 years and inject it into the political debate at the highest level in order to qualitatively change the character of the political process in this country over the next year. 2007 is the year to do it. That's Obama. He's in Texas. It's a crowd of probably 10,000 people. And there's one 9/11 Truth activist. His name is Matt Dayton. It's called the Project for the New American Citizen. One brave, intelligent person to qualitatively transform the entire scene. And that's what you can do. What I want to prepare you to do right now. First of all, the strategic situation. As you know, the world situation is grave and deteriorating. We are on the verge of a wider war in the Middle East, an attack on Iran over the immediate weeks and even days ahead, and then the question of the Third World War itself, the collision with Russia and or China, and I'll get to that in just a minute. The nightmare vision of the Cold War that you may have thought you left behind in the early 1990s or the late 1980s is back the day after, the mushroom cloud and everything that goes with it. And I recommend that you now transform your political thinking according to this reality. The neocon fascist madmen have brought it back. It's not relegated to the past of the Cold War. It is with us, most emphatically, right now. Compared to this, I have to say, most other issues pale into insignificance. This is where you must be active. Now, obviously, the big threat is the immediate attack on Iran. And this is expected now practically from day to day. Let's go through. The neocon theme song, according to UPI, right? Woolsey, the former head of the CIA, was asked, what's his Iran policy? And he says, it's bomb, 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 Iran, bomb, 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 Iran. So again, the neocon fascist madmen, the one-trick ponies, always the same note. War, war, war. Any conceivable human problem, their answer is war. The London Economist wants to know if the stealth bombers will soon be attacking Iran. This is from the last couple of weeks. Everything is in place. The surge is a mask for a troop buildup vis-a-vis Iran. The 4 or 5 carrier battle groups are there. The air bases in Romania, Bulgaria, Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. The Israelis are practicing their own bombing runs, flying up and down the Mediterranean from Israel to Gibraltar and back, approximately the equivalent of the Iranian run. U.S. drones are constantly flying over Iran. They're often getting shot down. And of course, the U.S. and the British are committing acts of war against Iran, and have been for years practically, with special forces on the ground in Iran. And of course, we now have the demonization of people like Ayatollah Khamenei. You can think whatever you want of these people. They have never attacked anybody. Forget what they say. Their rhetoric, of course, is deplorable. But they've never attacked anybody. That's the bedrock reality. And of course, they're not alone. We have Syria, Assad, and the president of Iran, so there's more to it than just Iran. It would be a regional war of tremendous consequences. The goal of all this is the Bernard Lewis plan. And in particular, this you can see, it calls for the carving up, the dismemberment, the balkanization of every state in the Middle East, but in particular, Iran. Notice that part of Iran will be carved away, according to the US-British plan, for the Kurds, for the Azerbaijanis, for the Turkmen, for the Baluchis, and the really interesting one is this one, Arabistan, Ahvaz, or Khuzestan as it's called. This happens to be the oil area. It's got all the oil fields in the Cargill and tanker terminal, and the US and the British are sending in terrorists right now to commit terrorism in this area with a view to detach it from Iran and make it into an Anglo-American colony. I call this the BP Liberation Front, because British Petroleum, this is of course the Anglo-Iranian oil company. This is the mastermind of the entire thing. This is the person who's running US and British Middle East policy. It is Bernard Lewis, agent of the British Arab Bureau. Note well, a certified British agent runs the entire policy. That was the Bernard Lewis plan you have seen. The Israelis have their own version of it, but it all comes from him. And now we have eager imitators of Bernard Lewis. Here's a guy from Pakistan who wants to tell you how to carve Pakistan into 4 or 6 parts. In other words, the program of the US and the British and the Israelis is the destruction of entire nations. That is their goal. Now naturally, you cannot do this without eliciting tremendous resistance, rivers of blood, kinds of retaliation that we don't want to find out about. And then of course we go from the Middle East regional war involving Iran, Syria, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and other states. You can just imagine, I could give you detailed scenarios how they all get involved, to a world war. This is the oil aorta of the world, right? Here's the Persian Gulf, or the Arabian Gulf if you're an Arab. Here's the Straits of Hormuz. This stuff out here is the Gulf of Oman. Still further is the Arabian Sea. About 1/3 of the world's oil comes through here. And it's about as narrow as the island of Manhattan. And a couple of hulks sunk here will block it. Plus you can release mines. You can use any kind of tanks, artillery you have, torpedoes, suicide boats, whatever you want, to sink all kinds of tankers and other vessels in this area. And in case of a war with Iran, it is very likely that the Iranians will simply interdict the Straits of Hormuz, cutting off 1/3 of the world's oil. And for you who are so dependent on automobiles, that means $200, $300 a barrel oil, $500 a barrel oil, $25 a gallon for your gasoline, $50 a gallon for your gasoline. The end is the opposite. But from a military point of view, we are now on the verge of the absolute critical period. And again, the question is, what are you going to do about it? And I'll try to show you what I recommend. Now,